We're ready for the round 4 matchup between Bowser Jr. and Diddy Kong at Bowser Badlands. Both have started really well, with Bowser Jr. starting 2-1 and Diddy 3-0. Bowser Jr. though is coming off a loss against Dixie Kong, in which he threw away a lead to lose at the playoff hole, as Diddy Kong has started perfectly, defeating Donkey Kong in the previous round. Both have come from Congo Canopy. Are they quarantining due to COVID-19 protocols? Bowser Jr. to take the first shot. It's his home game at Bowser Badlands. Here comes Bowser Jr. How will he fare? It looks really good. Diddy shot. Here comes Diddy. Ouch! Hits the gate. That is no good. Heavy rough though. Bowser Jr. seems to be in a very advantageous position. Here comes Bowser Jr. He looks set to score early. Nicely done. Diddy, he's in big trouble there. Fairway for him. Here comes Diddy. How will he fare? Looks really good. Heavy rough it is. Here comes Diddy. How will he fare? Gonna chip it in? Not quite. Bowser Jr. to score. Bowser Jr. is first on the board. Hole 2. There's a mansion here and some booze. Bowser Jr. to take the first shot. Here he comes. It's going to sway right. Nice. Here comes Diddy. How will he fare? Nicely done. Fairway it is. Bowser Jr. Here he comes. Beautiful stuff by Bowser Jr. Here comes Diddy. How will he fare? Nearly a chip in. Well done to Diddy. Bowser Jr. How will he fare? The putt is well done. Diddy Kong. Here he comes. Nice. Hole 3, the cane corns hole. Bowser Jr. to take the first shot. Bowser's son, here he comes. Prince Bowser. It's short of the platform. Luckily it doesn't wake up the chain chomps, but still out of bounds. Diddy to go very conservatively here. Can Diddy take advantage of Bowser Jr.'s shot? Diddy's done a really good shot. Bowser Jr. Here comes Bowser Jr. This time it's much better. On the platform. Diddy's second shot will be more conservative than that. Here comes Diddy. He's landed on the platform. Well done, Diddy. Here comes Diddy. Diddy, Diddy, Diddy. Nicely done. It's in the rough. Here comes Bowser Jr. No good. Luckily, the Chain Chomps aren't hungry. Bowser Jr.'s next shot, he doesn't seem to have improved it much. This time it's not out of bounds, but not in a good position though. He looks set to concede. Bowser Jr. again. His 7th stroke. It's on the green, but Diddy looks really good. Here comes Diddy. Nice. Bowser Jr.'s putt. No good. Bowser Jr. again. It's good. Quadruple bogey. Diddy for par. Diddy's on the board. 1-all. Diddy jumps for joy. Bowser Jr.'s not impressed with his performance. Hole 4. From lava to water. Got to hit it through the booze. It's a tricky hole. Not to mention the slopey green as well. But Diddy's shot is a really good one. Well done to Diddy. 100 divided by 27 plus 1. Yards out. Bowser Jr. Looks oh, hits the bomb. Boom! Into the rough. Here comes Bowser Jr. Diddy to score. Here comes Diddy. Diddy Kong's on the board. No! Bowser Jr. will get a reprieve. Lucky Bowser Jr. Diddy to stop Bowser Jr. from scoring. Diddy should have scored there. Poor thing. But luckily he didn't concede either. Diddy, he should have been in front. On the other hand, Bowser Jr. is pretty lucky there. In the Mario Golf Premier League, you've got to take advantage of your opportunities, otherwise you'll get punished. Bowser Jr., here he comes. It's going to sway right. Is it going to hit the bomb? Ooh, he's hit it in a very dangerous place. Very dangerous place for Bowser Jr. Here comes Diddy Kong. Diddy shot. It's on the green, 10 feet out. Bowser Jr., he's gonna uproot it out from the hedge. He's done it successfully, but he's in a tough position, having costed himself a stroke. Bowser Jr., his 3rd stroke, he's got to land it on the green. Hits the bomb, it's in the rough. Didn't seem to be a big explosion, it was very minor. Bowser Jr. Ooh. Diddy to score. Diddy Kong to score. It's in. Diddy's 2-1 ahead. Hole 6, the hole of the thwomps. Here comes Diddy. Nicely done. Bunker it is. Here comes Bowser Jr. Nicely done by Bowser Jr. Diddy, he's got to have to uproot it out of the bunker. Diddy, but it's on the fairway. Here comes Bowser Jr. How will he fare? Nicely done by BJ. Here comes Diddy. How will he fare? It's on the green, but he'll get a par at best. Bowser Jr. to square the ledger. Scores level, 2-all. Hole 7. Is it Bowser Jr.'s home hole, as there's a statue devoted to him? Or is it actually Baby Bowser, because there's no pattern? The hole of Baby Bowser. Yes, it will be Baby Bowser, because there's no pattern. If there's a pattern, it's Bowser Jr. But because there's no pattern, it's Baby Bowser. You know, Bowser Jr. and Baby Bowser do look alike, but they're not the same character, by the way. Bowser Jr.'s hit it in the bunker at his father's hole. A statue of his father as a baby. Diddy Kong, how will he fare? Fringes of the green. Can Bowser Jr. chip it in? He's going to opt a bit more shorter to uproot it. It's on the green, but not an easy putt. Diddy, whilst he's actually closer, Diddy's putting first because he's not actually on the green. Here comes Diddy. It's good! Diddy gets the lead back. 3-2 to Diddy. Hole 8. The Hole of Cane Corns again. Another volcano. Double volcano. Diddy's shot opted to be more conservative there. It looks good. Nicely done by Diddy. Bowser Jr. Here he comes. Nicely done by Bowser Jr. too. Took a while, but Bowser Jr.'s shot. Here he comes. Ooh, that is not good. It's in the lava. That is bad. Bowser Jr. Here he comes. He hits it under. Diddy Kong. Here comes Diddy. That's a nice shot. He's hit it over the rock formation. Diddy's next shot. How will Diddy fare? It looks really good there. Diddy looks set for a birdie. Nice by Diddy. Well done. Here comes Bowser Jr. How will he fare? It looks really good there. Diddy to go 4-2 ahead. Diddy goes 4-2 ahead. This is hole 9, the last hole of the front 9. Got to hit it into Bowser's mouth. Is Diddy going to hit a bob-omb? No, he's not. Diddy's hit it really well. Here comes Bowser Jr. It's on the fairway, thankfully. I had to bounce on the rough first. Diddy. Here comes Diddy. Diddy Kong shot. Ooh, is it going to hit the tooth? It's going to hit get in the bunker instead. Bowser Jr., can he take advantage of it? Here comes Bowser Jr. That looks really beautiful. It's on the green. Diddy is actually closer to the hole, but he's not on the green, so it's a bit of a tougher call for him. Oh, pin shot for Diddy. It's on the fringes of the green. Again, he'll putt, even though he's actually closer. Diddy's putt, it's in. Bowser Jr. Here comes Bowser Jr. Not quite. He'll trail 4-2, heading into the back nine. We've hit hole 10 and Diddy Kong leads 4-2 heading to the back nine. Diddy Kong looks set to keep his unbeaten record alive, or will Bowser Jr. advance to 3-1 and tied first in the conference? We'll soon find out. Diddy Kong is to take the first shot. His next 3 matches involve Toad, Dixie Kong and Boo, in which the match against Toad is another inter-conference duel at Toad Highlands before 2 home games against Dixie Kong and Boo at Congo Canopy. Round 8, Diddy Kong has a bye. It's a nice shot by Diddy Kong there. Bowser Jr. He has a divisional matchup in round 5 against Lemmy back at Bowser Badlands. It's a Lemmy home game. Away against Luigi at Peach's Castle Grounds in round 6 for an interconference matchup, his first for the season. Round 7 is a home game against Mona at Bowser Badlands, and round 8 is a bye for Bowser Jr. His first shot is really well done. Diddy's shot. Ooh, dangerous. Slams it into the thwomp, not enough power. Worst possible result, it lands in the water hazard. He's in a worse position than he was last stroke. No good. Bowser Jr. Oh, Diddy's actually taking a shot. Here comes Diddy. He's in grave danger there. Diddy's got it out of danger, but he's cost himself 2 strokes. Bowser Jr. He's going to use some backspin. It's in the rough. Diddy's shot. Here comes Diddy Kong. On the green. Bowser Jr. shots on the green. Diddy to putt it in. Diddy's shot is in. Bowser Jr.'s shot is in too. Bowser Jr. is 4-3 down, but he scores. Could that be the start of a turnaround? His last home game involved it against Ludwig. Coming from 4-all to win 8-4, can Bowser Jr. repeat it against Diddy? But Bowser Jr. is behind though, and Diddy is unbeaten, whereas Ludwig is winless. Bowser Jr.'s first shot's in the bunker. Diddy's shot. How will he foul? It's in the bunker too, much like Bowser Jr. Diddy's shot. Nicely done by Diddy, but not a chipping. Here comes Bowser Jr. Bowser Jr.'s putt. Yikes! Bad miss. Diddy has scored 5-3. That was a bad miss by Bowser Jr. That offsets hole 4. Diddy takes advantage of the miss. How will he go? Will he keep it going? Will Bowser Jr. be mentally shot? Diddy's shot is nice. It's on the fairway. Bowser Jr. How will he foul? Bowser's son. Formerly thought to be the youngest out of the 8, He's actually younger than the Koopalings, but he's the only child. Therefore, he's the legitimate heir of the Koopa throne. Diddy shot. How will he fare? It's going to sway very right. Into the bunker. It won't reach the green, but it's in the rough though. Could be worse. At least, oh, Bowser Jr. Bowser Jr. is going to have to curl his shot. Bowser Jr. is going to curl it a lot. Is it going to work out in the end? Bunker? It's in the bunker. Worse position than Diddy. Here comes Bowser Jr. It's on the green, 15.89 feet out. Here comes Diddy Kong. How will Diddy fare? Nearly a chip in. Bowser Jr.'s putt. No good. Here comes BJ. Diddy's putt. How will he go? Diddy's putt is in. Diddy scores. 6-3. Diddy looks set to keep his unbeaten record alive. Hole 13. That can benefit Bowser Jr. with a longer hole. But Diddy's going to take advantage of the wind. He can hit it far enough. And Diddy's shot looks really good. Well done, Diddy Kong, on the fast fairway. Well on track for an eagle. Here comes Bowser Jr. He's in a tough position. Bowser Jr. shot. Is it going to reach the grass or fall in the lava? Oh, it's comfortably on the grass in the end. Semi-rough it is for Bowser Jr. Can Bowser Jr. Bowser Jr. Here he comes. Bunker it is for him. Diddy. Can he go 7-3 up? Here comes Diddy. Diddy looks really good. Bowser Jr. Here he comes. Nearly a chip in. It's on the green though. Diddy. Oh, he's going to go for what we deem an unorthodox putt. Diddy's putt. Short. Diddy for birdie. Nicely done. Bowser Jr. for birdie to deny Diddy a score. He's got it. Hopefully he won't catch COVID with his bandana. Hole 14. Bowser Jr. wearing the bandana in his mouth rather than... Here comes Diddy. Yikes! Rough. Bowser Jr. Can he take advantage of it? Here comes Bowser Jr. Nicely done. Diddy, he's done a miss hit. A very rare occasion of a miss hit, but Diddy's in grave danger. He's in hot water there. He knows he's going to lose this hole. Actually, maybe not. Never say never. Even though I'm not a fan of Justin Bieber. Got to stay optimistic there. Diddy's hit it in the rock. Bowser Jr. Here comes Bowser Jr. It looks really promising. Great stuff by Bowser Jr. Diddy's shot. How will Diddy go? Fair way it is for Diddy. In this primetime matchup between Bowser Jr. and Diddy Kong looks set on track to victory, but Bowser Jr. looks set to win this hole. Diddy shot those on the green, but he will have to settle for a double bogey at best. Bowser Jr. for birdie, and to draw closer. Here comes Bowser Jr. He gets it in. We know he's not going to catch COVID with his bandana covering his face. Well done, Bowser Jr. 4-6 down, but Bowser Jr. scores. Hole 15, 410 yards. Bowser Jr. shot. Here he comes. That is a really good one. Really good shot. Actually hits the bob-on, but Bowser Jr. shot is still really good. Doesn't matter. Diddy's shot. Will he get the distance enough? Oh, Diddy's going to rely on the bounce. Diddy's going to rely on the bounce. No, not an Australian Rules Football TV show. The bounce sits perfectly for him. Well done, Diddy Kong. Diddy's second shot. Will he land it on the green? Here comes Diddy. Excellent stuff by Diddy. Green it is. Bowser Jr. shot. How will he fare? Nicely done. Here comes Diddy. Bowser Jr. Here he comes. Can he score? No! That's a bad miss. Bowser Jr. He putts it a lot better there. Diddy's putt. Will it be good? It's good. 4-6 in Diddy Kong's favour so far. Bowser Jr. could have drawn one closer. Hole 16. If Diddy wins on this hole, he wins the match. But Bowser Jr. is to take the first shot. And it's a long hole, so it's going to take a while to complete. Bowser Jr.'s first shot. This is brilliant. Fairway. Well done to Bowser Jr. Diddy's shot. He's going to use a power shot, which is a very similar distance to Bowser Jr.'s. Will it go through Womp's legs? Will it go through a Womp's legs? Goes through the Womp. Well done. Bowser Jr.'s second shot is a really good one. It looks promising. Promising by Bowser Jr. Excellent stuff. The Womp squishes it, but still, it doesn't cost him a stroke. Bowser Jr. is fine. Here comes Diddy Kong. Can he roll it into the green? Onto the green, I mean, and into the hole. Bowser Jr. Diddy Kong. This is really good stuff by him. 20 yards out from the hole. Bowser Jr. Here comes Bowser Jr. Cooper Jr. It's on the green. He's relied a lot on the bounce. Nearly a chip in. That was really good stuff by Bowser Jr. But so close. Diddy Kong. Chip in for the win? No chip in though. Diddy's putt. Here comes Diddy. The putt is good. Bowser Jr. It's good. We enter hole 17, and this is the Dormy. If Bowser Jr. needs to win on this hole to survive, this is a very vital hole. Otherwise, Diddy Kong will win if it's a draw on this hole. Bowser Jr.'s shot is a good start. Diddy Kong's shot, on the other hand. Here comes Diddy. He's wasted a power shot, but Diddy's been really good with conserving them. Diddy's shot still is very good. Here comes Diddy. On the green. Bowser Jr. How will he foul? Short of the green, it's on the fairway. Bowser Jr. needs to chip it in to survive. He needs to chip it in, otherwise it's game over. Chip in! Can that save his skin? But he needs Diddy Kong to miss though. Diddy Kong, if he gets it in, he wins. If he doesn't, Bowser Jr. lives to fight another day. No! Bowser Jr. lives to fight another hole. 6-5. Second Dormy. Bowser Jr. again needs to win on this hole to force overtime. Bowser Jr. shot. He's got to make it good. Otherwise, he's lost it. He's got to make it good. It's got to be really good. Unfortunately for him, it's not on the green, but still possible to chip it in though. Diddy shot. How will Diddy foul? The wind is going to push it. It's on the green. Bowser Jr. Diddy's is on the fringes of the green. Bowser Jr. Can he chip it in? Too much power. It's cost him the match. Diddy for the win. For the win. This is for the win. Diddy wins! 7-5! Diddy advances to 4-0. And we'll play Toad next week at Toad Highlands, which will be broadcasted on Mario Golf World Tour, as Bowser Jr., after a promising start, has dropped to 2-2 and will face Lemmy back at Bowser Badlands. Thank you for the Mario Golf Premier League match between Bowser Jr. and Diddy Kong.